Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is our monthly meeting of the Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals. And as our custom at this time, I'm going to ask Officer Kevin Mallory if he would come forward. And if we'd all please rise, he's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I really think you should have faced me.
Oh, we got Mr.
You
Hovey.
should have faced me.
It
I
is.
had more flags.
It is the day after Veterans Day, and Mr. Hovey still has his veterans flag on it, which looks very nice. And Officer Mallory, representing the Cobb County Public Service folks and leading in the pledge, I certainly appreciate that. For those of you that are here for the first time, let me just kind of bring you up to date on how we're going to conduct this meeting today. The first thing that we will concern ourselves with is the consent agenda. These applications have not only been reviewed by this staff, but also our professional and engineering staff. To our knowledge, there's no known opposition to any of these particular cases. So we'll go forward with Mr. Peterson reading these into the record. The applicant, he or she, as their name is called, will identify themselves by raising their hand. And likewise, if there is anybody here in opposition, if they would identify themselves, and we do have any opposition, we will pull that particular case and hear it in its regular numeric order. Next course of business is we'll go into a continued case that we had held last month. We'll hear that next. Then we'll get into our regular agenda. Again, the procedure will be that Mr. Peterson, the head zoning administrator, will read these into the record. The applicant, again, will identify themselves. Likewise, if there's anybody here in opposition, they will identify themselves. For the purpose of the meeting today, our officer today is Ms. Kim Wakefield. So those of you that are going to give testimony, Ms. Wakefield is going to call you up. We're going to swear you in, and then all testimony will be given to the podium to my right. At that time, the applicant will have a 10-minute period to make their presentation to this board, and likewise and collectively, those in opposition will have a 10-minute period. So please be cognizant of the fact that you only have a 10-minute period, and conduct yourself accordingly. Once we finish that, we have one other business to attend to today. And with that said, do we have any special announcements, Mr. Peterson?
Mr. Chairman, I do have one announcement before we begin. I would like to ask the people in today's audience to please turn your cell phones off if you have a cell phone. They do interfere with the broadcast and presentations, so if you have a cell phone, please turn it off. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to start the consent agenda.
Okay, let's just get right into it, John. Thank you.
Thank you. Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals, variance hearing consent agenda for November 12th, 2014. Variance case V92, Kenneth Hester, request variance to waive the front setback on tract 1 from required 35 feet to 5 feet, to allow an accessory structure to the side of the primary structure on tract 1, to waive the minimum amount of public road frontage from required 75 feet to 5 feet for tract 1, to waive the minimum house size from required 1,200 square feet to 725 square feet on tract 1, waive the front setback from required 35 feet to 10 feet on tract 2, waive the rear setback from required 35 feet to 5 feet on tract 2, allow two accessory structures to the front and side of the primary structure on tract 2, waive the rear setback for an accessory structure over 144 square feet for an existing 264 square foot storage building, required 35 feet to 20 feet, and that is an existing condition. Waive the minimum amount of public road frontage from required 75 feet to 55 feet on tract 2. Waive the minimum house size from required 1,200 square feet to 1,081 square feet on tract 3. And waive the rear setback from required 35 feet to 10 feet on tract 3. Located in land lot 683 of the 19th District. The property is on the west side of Old Villa Rica Road across from Bagley Forest Drive. Staff recommends approval of the variance subject to the site plan last revised September 25th, 2014, and site plan review comments. The applicant's representative is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V92? Let the record shows no one opposed. Variance case V112, Cheryl L. Martin, request a variance to waive the setbacks for an accessory structure under 144 square feet for a 128 square foot shed from required 5 feet from the side property line to 3 feet adjacent to the west property line, and from required 5 feet from the rear property line to 3 feet adjacent to the north property line, and the way the rear setback from required 30 feet to 27 feet adjacent to the north property line in land lot 270 of the 18th district. The property is located on the northwest side of Twain Circle, east of Mableton Parkway. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the site plan dated September 10th, 2014. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V112? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V115, William Stewart Bruce requests a variance to waive the maximum allowable impervious surface from required 40% to 54%, to waive the front setback from required 20 feet to 7 feet adjacent to the north property line, to waive the rear setback from required 30 feet to 3 feet adjacent to the south property line, and to waive the side setback from required 5 feet to 4 feet adjacent to the east property line in land lot 907 of the 17th district. The property is located on the south side of Yale Court, east of Courtyard Drive, south of Tanglewood Drive. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the maximum impervious surface to be 46%, or no more than 46%, and house plan dated September 11th, 2014. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V115? Let the record show there's no one opposed, and that completes the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, it's back to this board for discussion or comments. Any comments from board members? Not hearing any, I'll entertain any motions.
Make a motion we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, got a motion, have a second by Mr. Potteet. Any other comments? Not hearing any, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, Madam Secretary, we're going to approve that 5-0 for approval. Those of you that were on the consent agenda, your business is complete with us for today. Now you're welcome to stay, or you can go home. But if you leave, please leave quietly, and we'll continue on. All right, Mr. Peterson, with that said, let's go to our continued case then, I guess.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Variance case V95, Christy B. Crutcher requests a variance to waive the minimum lot size from required 15,000 square feet to 14,075.6 square feet for proposed tract 1, and to 12,877.4 square feet for the proposed tract 2 in land lot 718 of the 17th district. The property is located on the east side of Oriole Lane, south of Perry's Ferry Road, and on the northern side of I-75. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V95? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Would the applicant please come forward to be sworn in?
All right, ma'am, for the purpose of the record, if you would, give us your name, please, first.
Yes, it's Christy B. Crutcher.
Okay, and if you would, go ahead and tell us what you want, ma'am.
I have owned this property at 1051 Oriole Lane since 1983, and what I would like to do is subdivide it. I was under the impression before the most recent survey that I had 2 lots, and it turned out it was a little bit less than 2 full lots. So the way the survey came back, the first tract with the existing house would be, instead of 15,000 square feet, would be 14,075. And the second tract, which backs up to I-75, would be 12,877 square feet. And what I would like to do is make that second tract of property a buildable lot.
Okay, anything else you want to tell us? Did you have a plan? Are you getting ready to build, or?
Well, I wasn't myself going to be the builder. I wanted to be able to sell this property and sell it as two separate entities. I did talk to Kim about it briefly, and I came up with the idea of having a ranch-style house that was the mirror image of the existing house. All the houses on Oriole Lane are basically small ranch-style houses, and if I was going to do it, that's what I would do, but I didn't particularly want to be in the building
So
business.
you don't have a picture of the house, you don't have a diagram or drawings or the house, the proposed house?
No, I don't. It would just be a small ranch.
Anything else you want to tell us? Do you have something there you want to show us?
Yes, this is the,
As a stay right there. Is that the survey?
We have
yes,
it.
this is the survey.
Okay, if you look up on the screen, I think we have that
Okay,
already
yeah,
up there.
That's it,
Okay.
that's it.
All right, now you still have a little time. Anything else you want to tell us about this project?
No.
Okay. All right, for the purpose of the record, is there anybody here wishing to speak in opposition to V95? Hearing and not seeing anybody, it's back to this board for discussion. Ms. Kim Swanson represents that district, so Ms. Swanson, would you lead us in the discussion, please?
Hi, Christy. So the understanding is that you want to have these two, which are what we call non-conforming lots, because they're coming in one significantly under the 15,000 for R15, and that will you be selling both lots, the house that you currently
Yes.
own and this one?
Yes,
And then,
but I'll be selling them as separate entities.
Right.
If the variances are approved.
Right, I understand that. Thank you. And the house that you currently have, do you live in that house, or is it a rental?
No,
or?
I've never lived in it. I've owned it since 1983, but I was a real estate investor, so I've owned it.
So
for
you've
all those-
owned it and you've rented it out?
Yes.
Okay. The other, so what you want to do is you want to be able to sell this house, the lot that has the current house,
Yes.
as a separate property.
Yes.
And then you want to sell this lot
As a buildable.
as a buildable.
lot. Yes.
Okay. The concerns that we have with this property is that that in this area, looking at the different lot sizes, pretty much all of them conform to the R15, so they're 15,000 square feet. And all of the homes up and down that street are fairly well kept. The one across the street is very nice. The one next door to the current house is also very well kept. And I see that the one that you have, when I was over there to look at the site, that it looked like someone was moving out, or that you're in the process of
Well, it's
fixing
being
it.
renovated.
Being renovated.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So I could tell that was occurring as well. The other concern that I have with splitting these lots and making them two non-conforming lots is the second lot that is called what we call Track 2
Yes.
will be the smaller of the lot, and stormwater management has some issues with just going and building even a duplicate of the house that you currently own, because there is a 100-year headwater pool, and you're under the 75, and that it would have to be raised. It'd have to be raised up. And I think that what I'm going to have is Mr. Braden come and explain what would have to be done in order to make this a buildable lot, and what that house would have to look at. So if you could step down for a minute,
Okay.
and I'll have Mr. Braden come from Stormwater to explain that a little better than what I just tried to explain.
Dave Braden with the Stormwater Management Division. The problem with this lot is there is an existing culvert under 75, and 75 is a very large embankment, 15, 20 feet above grade at this location. So, and there is not any information to show what the 100-year headwater pool elevation for that culvert. So we don't have anything to base a minimum floor elevation for this house. So if it's only a couple feet, then as long as the finished floor could be raised 3 feet above that elevation, it would meet code. If that headwater pool is a little bit higher and actually goes up into where the footprint of the house would be, that's a different story. So without that information, it's going to be hard for us to make a determination of what they're really going to have to do if they were approved to build a structure here. But yeah, we're not going to know until somebody wants to use the money, spend the money, and come up with have an engineer compute an elevation.
And then somebody come up with a house plan
Right.
and submit it to you as what they're proposing to build?
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone have any more questions for Mr. Braden?
So, I guess essentially, David, we're saying that the possibility a house could be built there.
That's right, but there's going to be some
without-
obstacles to overcome to do it.
And the obstacles
That's-
are essentially the engineering, how it's going to conform, how we're going to take care of the water. We certainly don't want to build a house that's going to flood out in the next year. So that's where the engineering comes in.
Right.
And of course, we have no plans, we have no house plans, so we're just we're stymied with this, the way I see it. Okay. Any
thank
other
you.
questions for Mr. Braden?
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Kim?
You know, I drove this area quite a bit, and again, it's an area that I think is it's improving. I can see a lot of very nice homes that they're making some significant improvements to. And then when I went to the next street over, I saw some homes that again that are being improved, but then I also saw some homes that which was on, I believe it's Forest Ridge, that were vacant and my guess would be abandoned. And so that it concerns me to approve this variance and to put two non-conforming lots in the subdivision, and I think that this one house, given the property it has, I think is more marketable to a family who would want to live there than if we did two non-conforming. I think it might be more marketable to somebody who wants to come in and turn these into rentals. And since this one lot is significantly smaller than what is allowable of the 15,000 square feet, I just, and because there's going to be some severe restrictions on the type of home that needs to be built there, I would see that it would have to come back in for a variance in order to build a specific type of house there once that was submitted and a plan was submitted to Cobb County. So with that, I'm ready to make my motion.
Okay. Any other comments
If
from
anybody
board
has
members?
any questions.
Okay, Kim, we're ready for the motion.
So at this time, I make my motion to turn down V95 due to the fact that it would create two non-conforming lots on Oriole Lane, and that's my motion.
Okay, I've got a motion for rejection on V95. Do I have a second to that? Do I have a second? Second, Ms. Williams. All right, any comments for board members? I think we're really stuck because without the engineering study, without plans or knowing what's going to happen to this property, we just can't really simply pass this without the information that's needed. So I think it's a good motion. I have a motion. I have a second. Any other comments? Not
I
hearing
just
any.
feel at this time, Mr. Homan, that it's a significant reduction, and it would create two non-conforming lots, which, as a board, we don't normally do that.
That's correct.
So with a plan or without a plan, we're still in the situation of doing something that we really don't usually do.
All right, have a motion, have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, any opposed? Madam Secretary, we're going to reject V95 with a 5-0 vote. Okay, Mr. Peterson, what's our next case?
Variance case V110, Cecilia Diaz requests a variance to waive the side setback from required 10 feet to 1.6 feet adjacent to the north property line in land lot 154 of the 17th District. The property is located on the west side of Oak Haven Drive, south of Privet Road. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V110? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Would the applicant please come forward to be sworn in?
Good afternoon. She doesn't speak English, so I want to see if it's okay that I can help to translate.
Okay, for the purpose of the record, let's get your name on the record first.
My name is Maria Rodriguez.
Okay, and then let's get the young lady's name on the record.
¿Cuál es tu nombre? por favor? Cecilia Díaz.
And let's get the young man on the record.
El nombre Luis. Christopher.
Okay. All right. Now, we've got you all on the record. You're the interpreter, and we're glad you're here. Would you kind of explain to us what this lady wants?
Okay, ellos tienen el récord ya con ellos y quieren saber qué es lo que tú necesitas, qué es lo que tú quieres.
No, yo nada más que me dejen mi garage y traigo las firmas de mis vecinos que no les estorben nada.
Okay, she built a garage at the house, and the only thing she wants is see if it's okay to leave the garage in there, and she has signature from the neighbors saying they're okay with it.
She has signatures from the neighbors, is that
Yes.
correct? Okay. And is this young lady, is she the one building the garage?
¿Tú fuiste el que hiciste el garage o quién lo hizo?
Las personas que me donaron el material fueron de mis primos.
Her cousins.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't hear.
The cousin. Mhm.
Maybe just a little more.
Yeah, speak a little closer to
Sure,
that.
thank you.
Fix it. He's got a button.
All right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Mr. Hovey represents that district, and rather repeat myself or go into that, I'm going to ask Mr. Bob Hovey to go ahead and lead us in discussion. Bob, go right ahead.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Buenas.
Let's take this a piece at a time. How long has she had the property?
¿Por qué tanto tiempo tú tienes la propiedad?
Por un año que la acabo de comprar.
1 year.
1 year.
Yes, sir.
Yes. And when she bought the property, was there a garage where the one is now, up against this property line?
Cuando tú compraste la casa, ¿ya estaba ahí el garage o tú lo hiciste?
Ya estaba, nomás que lo reemplacé, lo podré decir un nombre.
Okay, the garage was already there. The only thing she did is put new material because it was like old. So she takes some parts off and put a new material.
Okay. And were there walls, or was it just a carport kind of a roof?
¿Eran como la pared o era solamente como cartón el techo?
Era palo, no sé, pero no tenía cartón ahí.
It's just like a regular good.
A regular house room?
Yes.
Was it heated and cooled?
It doesn't have walls. The garage is just like a porch. It's not like walls on it.
Okay, so there were no walls on it?
No walls.
No walls. So she's added the walls.
Actually, is how I can say. Tú no le añadiste ninguna pared, ¿verdad? It's not walls. It's like a little room, like a laundry room attached to the garage, but it was already there.
Okay.
She just replaced the old good, the corners.
Okay, but I'm talking about the sides. Did they have windows?
No tiene ventanas, ¿verdad?
No hay.
No,
No windows. Did they have doors?
no
No.
tiene puertas.
How did you get in and out?
It's just like a little porch.
Okay, so it was like a porch.
It's a porch.
Okay, so there were no.
It's open.
It was open, no
It's
sidewalls.
open, anything.
There was a roof. There was a roof, like
Yes.
already out from the house, with some posts that hold up the roof.
Yes.
Okay, but no walls, no windows, no doors.
No, sir.
Okay, and now, what? I have a picture, but tell everybody what has she built there now?
Okay, ¿qué fue exactamente lo que tú le hiciste a tu garage? ¿Qué fue lo que le pusiste extra?
Nada más reemplacé lo viejo por lo nuevo. Así como estaba ahí, yo le puse lo nuevo, no le...
She says she don't really add anything. The only thing she do is just replace the old pieces to new pieces.
Okay,
Because
well,
it's not like a garage. It's
you
like
know,
a
now
porch.
it has a front door, a regular door, a lockable door, and now it has a front window like a regular
Dice
house.
que tu porche tiene puerta y tiene ventana como una casa normal.
Mi porche,
Mhm.
esa ya estaba, la de porche donde entra para adentro, esa sí estaba.
She doesn't add any door in any window.
Well, I'll put up the picture.
Sure. Mira, este es tu porche.
Ajá, esa es donde está la lavadora.
Okay, if you see the front, that door and the window is the one I told you was already there, like laundry. It's like a storage.
estaba ahí.
It was already there. There. The porch is like the one on the front, like that little bitty area right there.
Okay,
So the porch, she replaced the right side. You see the white post?
mm-hmm.
That's what she replaced. And I think, ¿cuál fue el que reemplazaste? ¿Es ese que se veía? The one on the right, ¿y qué otro?
No, es aquí.
But the door and the window, it was already there. It's like a storage.
Okay,
So it's just the porch. And the porch was already there. She just replaced the old part for the new ones.
now this is a picture from the building inspector's report when he made the building inspection.
Dice que
And
ese
this
es
is
el
looking up.
documento de la inspección cuando hicieron la inspección. Y ese es como se ve.
Now this appears to be all new wood. She has added all this?
Ese material que tienes ahí es el que le pusiste nuevo.
Sí.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's the one she replaced.
Okay, well, I think we've got that started. So the house was, the laundry room was there when she bought the house. She had an open breezeway with a roof on top of it, and she's
Yes.
added new understructure, a new storage space, and replaced the wall on the end.
Dice que cuando ya estaba ya el espacio ese para la lavandería. Tú lo único que hiciste fue reemplazar la madera, no añadiste nada más.
No.
Okay, yes, sir. She said the only thing she do is just replace the old parts, but everything else was ready there.
Okay. Now, when she began this work, she got a building permit. And I have a copy here. And the building permit is very specific. You want to translate that part for her?
Dice que cuando empezaste la construcción tú tenías un permiso de construcción y específicamente te decía que podías construir.
No, bueno, como ese nunca lo dije porque como no sabía que teníamos que sacar permiso para eso.
Yes, she have a permit for build, but she don't tell you guys, or she don't get permit for the porch because she don't think she would need it.
Okay, well, your building permit is very specific. It says fix damage on some sheetrock, cover some nails, add 2 lamps on the front, and replace electric switches, and replace old wood on the deck, which is over on the front of the house, and siding.
Dice que tu
Replace old wood on deck and siding. And you can see in that first picture, you can see where they've replaced the siding pieces. Okay, so, but there was nothing in there about this work on this end of the house.
Okay, dice que tu permiso específicamente decía todo lo que tenías que cambiar, pero nada decía que tenías que añadirle este
Pero
cambio.
yo no le añadí nada, nomás reemplacé lo viejo.
Sí, pero
por
dice que el
algo
permiso decía que si podías agarrar chirro, necesitabas la luz y algo.
No saqué nada, eso yo lo reemplacé porque estaba podrido, no lo...
Yeah, she said she just replaced the part, it was damaged. So
Okay. Who did this building work?
¿quién hizo el trabajo?
I don't need the company's name, but what kind of,
Yeah.
is it a family member? Is it a contractor? What
¿Quién
kind
fue
of,
el que hizo el trabajo ese?
Mi familia
Her family.
somebody in the family?
Yes.
Okay.
nos donaron el material.
And how many people live in the house?
Nobody living there, sir.
Is it a rental house or?
She buys it, but she cannot move in because she doesn't have all the permits, so it's not ready for her to live in there yet.
Okay, so she's waiting.
That's
for,
what she thinks.
Waiting for her certificate. to
She
occup-
just want to be sure everything is done before she move in.
Okay. Okay, so then they start the work, and the building inspector comes out, and he issues a stop work order about 2 weeks, 3 weeks after she gets her permit. That's all on the record. So my question is, did she continue to build after he issued the stop order? How did
No,
all this
sir.
get done?
No, she's been stopped. She's been stopped the building for like. ¿Por qué tanto tiempo dejaste de ser ya? Ya no existe ahorita nada en tu casa.
Porque el inspector dijo que hasta que viniera con ellos.
Oh, the inspector told her she cannot do any repair until she come here today.
Okay, good.
So she's not do anything.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I think we got the basics of the story laid out. Now, our job is to find cases where things in the zoning ordinance, that means the ordinance, the property, the size of the property, has caused a hardship.
Dice que el
And-
trabajo de ellos es, I'm sorry,
Huh?
que el trabajo de ellos es buscar problemas en las casas, en las medidas, en los convenios, en todas las cosas de las propiedades.
Okay, so now I recognize that it's a hardship that she's been waiting to get in her house. That plainly that's an aggravation. But what hardship has the zoning ordinance caused? I mean, she bought the house. Does she have financing? Did she finance it with the bank?
¿Tú estás financiando con el banco o la compraste?
La compré.
No, sir, she pay off.
Okay, good for you. Congratulations. Oh, that's great.
Felicidades.
Okay, so there's no title insurance.
No tiene ningún tipo de aseguranza en tu título.
Ahorita todavía no la.
No, sir.
Okay. So my question then is, what is the hardship that's imposed by the ordinance that makes it necessary to build this part of the house here? Why not build it out the back? Why not expand the back of the house? Why do it here?
Dice que parte de la casa, ¿por qué decidiste ponerle, arreglarle, hacer los desarrollos ahí en una parte de la casa?
Porque allí me donaron el material y yo les dije
She said she really just did it because all the material was donated to her, so she just wanted to make her house look nice.
Okay. Well, and heaven knows we all appreciate that. We think that's great. Mr. Chairman, see if there's anyone else has a question.
Okay, any other comments, board members? I think we've established that she bought the house a year ago. Let me just go over this. We bought it a year ago. She hasn't moved in. She was
No.
trying to fix it up. So that means the existing building or part of the building, I guess, was there before she bought it. Is that my interpretation, Bob? Is that,
My interpretation is that the back part, this is probably kind of like a back half of a carport that somebody had
Okay.
taken in for a washing room, and she's made it into a more permanent house with a door and windows.
Okay.
She's taken it into the house.
okay, I think it's answered. Kim,
I
you
have
have
a
a
question.
question?
I have a question. What is her intention of, what is she going to put in that portion that she's redone?
The porch is just to park the car.
No, I understand the front portion would be to park the car, that's understandable, but the back portion with the door and the windows, what is that going to be used for?
Donde está el cuartito con la ventana y la puerta.
Allí están, es para las lavadoras.
She said that is for a laundry room because they already have everything for laundry room in there.
So
Like, it was set up for a laundry room.
So it's set up for a laundry room, it was like a storage laundry room when she bought it?
Cuando tú la compraste, es como una storage donde estaba la laundry. Yes, ma'am.
So she's not, all she did was just add a door and windows?
No, they was ready there. Windows and door was ready there. The only thing she do to that is replace the old material on the porch. She don't do anything inside of the little storage
Okay, so that's, all she's gonna use is just for what it
for
what it
laundry
was
because
used before?
everything is already the switch and I think everything is being ready for a laundry.
And it was there
When she
before
buys
she
it.
bought it?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
All right, no other comments? Back to you, Mr. Hovey.
Okay, thank you, folks. I think that's our questions. I will go slowly and let you translate for her as I make my comments. So
Sure,
please
thank
do.
you. Thank you.
Again, for the purpose of the record, is there anybody here wishing to speak in opposition to case 110? Okay, hearing and not seeing anybody, it's back to this board. We've had our discussion, and I believe I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Hovey.
Okay, this is one of those sad cases that we get every once in a while, where you see somebody trying to make their house nice, you see somebody who's trying to improve, you see somebody who's bought a nice house, but they've missed all of the rules along the way. You want to translate that? Go ahead. Okay, it's not, of course, it's not her fault. In fact, it's to her benefit that she didn't have a bank loan on this, but if she had had a bank loan, there's no way in the world the bank loan would have gone through with this problem. It would have been caught then. And if she had titles insurance, it would have been caught then, because the existing part that was there when she bought this property was across the line, take up practically the whole side, and was never permitted and was never built. We have no record of a previous variance. We have no record of a building permit for this extension on the building. Okay, now the purpose of side setbacks is to keep you away from your neighbor and have some air there, and they change depending on what kind of an area you live in. They're also to keep fires from jumping from one building to another building. And there is a fire department requirement for a building that's this close to the side line that is, as far as we know, not built into this building. It's called a firewall or a fire-rated wall. And what that does is slow a fire down so the fire department can get there before it jumps to the neighbor's house. So no matter how this case would go, if this building is allowed to stay there, it will have to be redone to some certain extent to the satisfaction of the fire marshal and the fire department. Okay, now, so we have a property that was built over the line in the first place. It's not built just a little over the line. You know, sometimes we get these cases and there's 5 feet or 6 feet or 8 feet, and we can put bushes in there and we can hide it. But in this case, it's dug into the side of the hill. If you look at the picture, it's up on the screen, and there's no room because it's only a foot from the property line, 1.5 feet. There's no room to put any landscaping or any other screening in there. Now, I recognize that the neighbor has signed off on this, saying that they don't care. But I have to recognize that this whole neighborhood has other similar situations like this, and those neighbors are likely to want to come doing things like this themselves. And if we don't support the rules that we have, then why have the rules? And that's why this board is here. This board is here to see if there's something about the rules that we have for zoning that creates an unreasonable hardship. And as close as I can tell at this point, yes, she has had a problem and she hasn't been able to get in her house, and yes, she's doing the right thing that we would like to support, but she doesn't have a hardship that she didn't create. The hardship is on her. She didn't know it, but it's on her. And there's not, the DOT didn't come and take her front yard with a highway. The electric company didn't take her backyard with a wire. And the sewer people didn't dig a ditch across her yard and take yard. There's really no hardship on the land. It's a good buildable suburban lot. So, Mr. Chairman, I have a hard time supporting this, and much as I would love to find a way to support this lady who I think is trying to do the right thing, I think it's setting a bad example to let this thing sit out there and be approved. And so I'll open this back to you for other commissioners' comments.
Okay, comments from other board members. Ms. Williams?
I think the lady, when she purchased the property, there is a language barrier. And because she didn't have to go through attorneys or whatever for closing, I wish she went through closing, but apparently they didn't pull surveys or whatever. So I think there is a hardship. I think the hardship was if this was existing when she bought it. Yeah, she's changed some stuff inside of it, apparently. But one of the things I think the board, are we better off to make her tear it down, or are we better off to have the fire, hold it for 30 days, have the fire marshal come in, and we get somebody that can, whoever is going to do the building. I have more of a problem of who's actually doing this building than what's there. I would like to hold it and have them come in, whoever's going to do the building for her, come in and get it with a meeting with John and the building inspection department so that they know exactly what they have to do in order to bring it up to code so that they can get a occupancy certificate. And it sounds to me like they have to put a firewall in because it's right on the property line. They're going to have to do other stuff to bring it up to code. So that would be my suggestion.
Okay. Any other comments, board members? Mr. Poteet?
I understand where Mr. Hobie's coming from, and I understand where Ms. Williams is coming from. It's a miserable situation, and it's a lady that was trying to do what's right and improve. I would be more apt to hold and see if there is a hardship they can come up with. I agree with you on the hardship, totally agree with that, but I'd love to give her every chance possible to rectify the problem. If they can't, then we'll have to let it go. But
One other suggestion I could have would be to, because I'm not going to make the motion, it's your district, but one of the suggestions I would have is to approve it subject to all these things of the firewall, the inspection, before they move in. Because in my heart, I think that we should help her, because I think the hardship is she bought it that way. Okay, John.
Commissioner Williams, one way to look at this is, there is a hardship. This property is zoned R20, and it's almost half the size of what
It's
R20
11,000
requires.
square feet.
This was platted probably back in the 1940s like this.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be a reason for a hardship, is the size of the property.
I think the hardship, to me, a hardship exists because she didn't know. Yeah, there's records you can research, but obviously since we're having a language problem, she wouldn't have known to research those records. So I think as a board, sometimes we have to help people, and I think that we could help them. One of the big ways we could help is see if one of the stipulations she could paint that house another color.
That's primer.
Is that primer? But so I think that she does have a hardship.
You're saying we do have a legal hardship either way?
Yes, she does.
Okay, that's...
All right. Kim, do you have a comment?
I just have one question. Do we have record of when that was built on there? Like how long has this property been sitting with this addition, which is basically just a shed that they've converted into a...
Going back through GIS photos from the last 10 years, this addition that includes the carport and the shed and laundry room probably appeared about 10 or 12 years ago. And there are no permits on it and no variances on it. So it was probably built without a permit.
Okay.
John, that brings up another question. In the testimony that we've seen, and Mr. Hovey has gone over from the building inspector, it seems to me he was just out there on the porch, and that entrance, was he involved in this carport that's now a room or a laundry room? Has he gone through all that? Has he inspected that?
He has not inspected it, Chairman, because it needs to have a permit first in order for him to go out there and inspect it. When he went out there to look at the other work is when he saw this carport too close to the property line.
So we got to get the cart in front of the horse then. They got to get this approved before he can inspect it.
That's right.
And let's understand this, if the building inspector inspects it and finds problems, you're still back at square one. It all has to either be redone or torn down. Is that correct, John?
That's correct.
I mean, let's get all this out in the open. I'm concerned that the building inspector should go back out there, either as a courtesy to the property owner or courtesy to the county, and look at that building, see what his opinion is, have the applicant meet with him and other appropriate officials before we rehear the case. So maybe a hold might be a possibility. I think we're all looking for little straws here, and
I have a
just
question.
throw that. Ms. Swenson has a comment.
If we put it on hold, I mean, it's going to be up to her to make that decision. If we approve it based upon, she has to get it inspected, she has to get it permitted, she has to follow all of the code and bring it up to the standards of the code. What we're just saying is she allowed what is currently existing? She can't add on, but she has to bring it up to standards and get it permitted. So that's going to be up to her if she's going to want to spend that amount of money to bring it up to standards, because I'm sure that it's not meeting the code. So it's going to be up to her, and she may say this is too much money and have to tear it down. So if we approve it, the inspection part. Can you put some stipulation that if it does not pass and she has so many days in which to improve it,
Sure.
or to tear it down?
Yeah, that all can be put together.
Because I think, coming back here to us and listening to all the code violations, well, it's still not going to change the thing. If she wants to improve it to those and make sure that it meets all the code, and we're still back to where we are now. But if we had a stipulation that if she's like, well, this is too much money, I'm not going to do it, then it has to be torn down within 30 days or something as a stipulation.
Okay, let me start to bring this thing to conclusion. We've all had comments. We've gone back to it. Mr. Hobie, this is your district, so I need to turn it back over to you for this period of time and see what you want to do.
Well, certainly, if there's a way to help these folks out, I'd like to do that. But I'm not willing to do that at the sacrifice of our zoning code. And John, I don't think we have to do all the engineering. Is there a way to get the codes folks out there with her and at least get her to the point where she can get an estimate of what her costs are? She may want to withdraw the case when she finds out what the costs are.
We can definitely have the building inspector go out there.
And the
in next
fire
30
marshal.
days.
And the fire
The
marshal.
fire marshal does not need to go out on this. It's just the building inspector.
All right, so the fire marshal comes in at plan review, is that correct?
Not at all for a house.
Okay, but where does the firewall come in? Is
That's under building inspection.
that's under building inspections, okay.
So they can cover, the one person could cover both. And that's a reasonable expense for the county. That's not out of order.
That's right.
All right, I must caution the applicant that I still think they have a very thin case, but I really would like to help you if we can. So, Mr. Chairman, I want to make a motion that we hold this case until our next regular meeting under the condition that the applicant gets together with building inspections and gets the information necessary to decide her costs and see if she wants to pursue this application further or withdraw the application.
All right, that's in the form of a motion. Okay, I need a second for that. Hold this case for 30 days, give all due inspectors the opportunity to get with the applicant and work it out. Do I have a second? Second, Mr. Poteet. That interpreter, have you indicated what Mr. Hovey and we've all just talked about? Okay. All right, I've got a motion, I've got a second. Any other comments? Not hearing any, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Okay, it's going to be approved to hold this case for 30 days or until our next scheduled meeting with a 3-2 vote. Okay, let's go to our next case, Mr. Peterson. I tell you, Madam Interpreter, Kim, would you get with her, make sure she has the telephone numbers, especially Mr. Peterson and anybody else that she may need to contact and move this along? Thank you. All right, John, let's go to the next case.
Yes, sir. Variance case V111, Robert Dawkins requests a variance to waive the rear setback for an accessory structure over 144 square feet for an approximately 160 square foot shed to require 35 feet to 10 feet adjacent to the south property line, to waive the requirement of parking on a treated and hardened surface to allow a commercially available reinforced concrete pervious pavement alternative called Grasscrete in order to achieve an effective impervious coverage of 34.8%, and to allow an accessory structure, proposed one-car garage, to be to the side of the primary structure in land lot 747 of the 16th District. The property is located on the south side of Bunker Hill Road, east of Bunker Hill Circle. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V111? Let the record shows no one opposed.
All right, sir, for the purpose of the record, if you would give us your name.
Robert Dawkins.
Okay, Robert, if you would, please tell us what you want.
My wife and I are looking to make our home handicapped accessible on one level. We retained a residential designer to assist with that. Given the topography of the lot, her recommendation was that we put our existing garage, enclose that, and build a new garage in the back of the home. And that solved one problem, but it created another in that it put us over the impervious limit. So we looked at a product that would allow us to meet the limit, but also provide a green alternative. It's a product called Grasscrete. And so I'd like to walk you through what that looks like, and also like to thank a company called Paradigm Landscape, who's actually installed this material in Marietta at a business.
Okay.
And so in the upper left, what you see...
We can give you a microphone and a pointer if that would help you.
Okay, thank you. What you see here is Grasscrete is what's called a monolithic pour, meaning it's poured the same as any driveway. The difference is that a mold is put into the pour, and you see it better here. And this is a paper mold, and what happens is it creates voids in the concrete, so it's essentially a driveway with holes in it. Those holes are filled with topsoil and then seeded so that you have the permeability. Rainwater can get down through it, but it also reduces heat load and provides a green space, so it's a green alternative. The rainwater can run through it. What you can't really see here is it's reinforced the same as a standard driveway, so it has rewire, rebar in it. So unlike tiles or pavers, which are placed individually, this is rated to hold a fire truck, and it's been used for about 20 years out west. And as I said, a few instances around Atlanta, it requires a licensed installer by the company. It's a company called Bonamite. And there's one company in Georgia that does it, fell out in Snellville. So here what you're looking at is they've put topsoil over it and they've sodded it. But the other option is to simply fill the voids with topsoil and then plant it, and we would plant it with centipede. So our second variance request is around around a garden shed. It's been in place approximately 20 years. It's against the rear of the property. Mr. Poteet can confirm that the rear of the property is basically wooded on the neighbor's side. Shed's well maintained, and and I brought a model, but I won't necessarily bring that up for you.
Well, put it up. We want to see it. I think you can stand it on the sill there. This is cool. I want to see one of these risings.
So what you're looking at is the green spaces are actually where the Grasscrete would go in the yard, so it's not the entirety of the driveway space. And these are actually concrete strips that run from the street, which is here, to the back. This is the new garage. This is the existing garden shed. And again, it's been here approximately 20 years. So the third item in the variance is the setback of a accessory building, which is a one-car garage. It is within the building setbacks. It's just, it is visible from the street, but barely. And I'll show you a photo here. And what I've done here is simply take the elevation, and it's actually screened by evergreen landscaping at the end of the house. So this is standing on, facing the home on the left-hand side. The property line is at this trellis. And this is approximately what would be visible from the street for the side building.
Superimpose that on there? Is that the way you did that?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Technology is a great thing. Sometimes it's hard for me to comprehend. Go right ahead.
Well, the other thing we wanted to point out, and this is a view from the opposite side of our lot, so this is our home here, is while you'll see on the model there's a long wall that extends within the setback but along the property line. It's actually screened by planting and a privacy fence down that side, so it's really not visible from the street. And then finally, one of the benefits that we felt of moving all of the additional structures to the back is it let the house stay within the character of the neighborhood. So what you see here, this is our existing garage, but it's closed in with a bank of windows and then a front porch built across the back. So all of our existing driveway and a parking pad will be pulled out, and the front yard will simply be a green space.
All right, what else you want to tell us?
I believe that's it.
Okay, let's talk about the 34.8%. You feel sure that you can maintain that?
Yes, sir. Our builder is here with us today as well.
All right, for the purpose of the record, is anybody here wishing to speak in opposition to case 1B11? Hearing and not seeing anybody, it's back to this board for discussion. Mr. Poteet represents that district. So David, would you please lead us in the discussion?
I think it's pretty obvious that the Dawkins have put a lot of time in this and a lot of organization and well planned. They don't want to move. They have a daughter that's going to be staying there, and that's a reason for the second garage. They have slope in the front, which creates a hardship and makes it much better to build it in the back. If they built it in the front, it would change the whole character of the neighborhood, and there are some other improvements going on in that neighborhood, and while keeping the character of the neighborhood. I think you've done an exceptional job of planning it, of going above and beyond, trying to figure out answers that we rarely see when you come up here, including that Kennedy compound thing you showed us. So, but that was made it very clear and plain what we need to look at. So, I'm all good with that as far as personal, but I'll leave it up to everybody else.
I'd like to get David to talk
Question.
about this stuff.
All right, Bob, go ahead. Let me turn it to Sophie.
Thank you, sir. Give Mr. Braden. I just want you to see that up close, David. That nice section drawing that he did with all the reliefs on it and everything.
Nice.
Yeah. No, seriously, we have kind of a standard credit that we give people for pervious pavers.
Yes.
And does this rate like that, or how do you rate this?
This rate's a little bit better than that because it's more than 60%. It's more than 60% open. What I had them do is they calculated it based on the actual, just as if all those little grids were sidewalk and driveway. So the impervious is actually based on the open cells of that, not some estimated infiltration of a paver.
So it really is. It's good. It's good math.
And it performs well. Yeah. And they did. If you remember, Mike, in the work session, I suggested they've got a small parking space in the front that they're accessing from the grass strips. We talked about the fact that when your wheels cross, when you're driving up the grass strips, they work, or the strips, they work fine. But as soon as you start turning off of them, they start to unravel. And they've extended the grasscrete in that little turnout area so that it will keep that from happening. So yeah, they did everything we asked them to do.
Sounds to me like this is a technology we could use other places too.
It works well, yeah.
Looks good.
Used to be you had to actually put the blocks down, and being able to pour it is a good change. Yeah,
Right,
Makes it a
and
little
being
bit
able to put
stronger.
rebar in it like you mentioned is also an advantage. I like that. Okay, thank you.
All right. Mr. Poteet, go right ahead.
Before I make a motion, real quick, Mr. Dawkins, a couple things I want to make sure. There's a retaining wall back there where you are going to dig down to where it'll be a little bit lower, and it's all one-level buildings. Am I correct?
Correct.
Second is, we talked a little bit about, when I was out there, along the music room, a little bit of screening on that, looking from the road on the right side. Is that, you still amenable to a little bit of screening?
Absolutely. I assume you're referring to back towards the end, meaning towards the music room as opposed
Yes,
to the
sir.
front of the property. Yeah,
From the
absolutely.
neighbors right there?
Yeah, I would ask that we wait until we've actually done the construction, to
Correct.
know how many plants we need to put in and so on. And so the builder doesn't knock them down.
And it is blocked from the back with a 6-foot fence or 8, I can't remember
It's
which it
a
is.
6-foot privacy fence across the back and a partial privacy fence down that side.
Okay, I appreciate that.
We're ready for a motion.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve B11, all portions of it, with these stipulations included. The rear setback waiver is for the existing building that's there only and cannot be moved. The building cannot be moved any closer to the property line at any time. I approve number 2 as is. And number 3, all the structures will adhere to dimensions and architectural style and look presented here today. All construction, we talked about this, would be completed or within 8 months. Once the minutes are approved, in a couple of weeks, you'd have 8 months from that time to do that. And the landscaping screening on the right side by the music room, approved by the county arborist. Those are all my steps in motion.
Okay, I've got a motion. I have a second. Second, Mr. Hovey. Any other comments? Not hearing any, not seeing any. Call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Madam Secretary, Angela, we're going to approve that 5-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Peterson, where am I?
Variance case V113, Rocco's European Garage. Request a variance to waive the front setback, require 50 feet to 0 feet, adjacent to the east property line. To waive the minimum number of parking spaces from required 28 spaces to 20 spaces. To waive the landscape enhancement strip along the vehicular access areas as required by section 134-285. To waive the maximum allowable impervious surface from 70% to 71.3% to 73.1%, and to waive the required 35-foot landscape buffer to 0 along the western property line in land lot 988 of the 16th district. The property is located on the west side of Roswell Road and on the north side of Cheryl Lane Place. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V113? Let the record show there's no one opposed.
All right, gentlemen, before we get started, we need to get you sworn in. Step down to the young lady and we'll get you sworn in. Okay, for the purpose of the record, let's get the names out first.
My name is Marco Lackington. I was retained by Rocco's European Garage to represent them on the...
Wait. All I need is your name at this point.
Marco Lackington, sir.
Thank you. And your
Rocco
name?
Leonetti.
Okay, now you guys can start.
All right.
Okay, my name is Marco Lackington, like I said. I was retained by Rocco's European Garage to look into developing this project. And I noticed that the property had a lot of concerns, once we did a little research on it. So we did a study with a survey and prepared a development plan that we further found with the surveyor that it might need a variance before we committed to any construction. And basically, I have here some pictures to show you.
I'll tell you, let me give you a microphone and a pointer, and you stand at the other side.
All right.
There you go.
All right. So I have a picture here of the existing conditions of the garage, how it looks today, and also how we would like to look eventually, if it's feasible. Rocco's garage has been there for almost 2 years, and they are intended in continuing with the lease and eventually buy the property if it's feasible to invest in the improvements they're requesting. So one of the things that they would like to do is to start with explaining the intentions is take the existing structure as it is and enclose it first, this pavilion carport that they have right here, and enclose it and put 2 bays. Currently they have 3 bays, and for the developer, the idea of the business, it would be a lot better to increase this capacity and eventually grow with 2 more bays on the side. So what you see then is the directions of the growth would be with a exactly similar building as it is, no new looks, and as is shown here in the picture, how it would look at the end. We would have the enclosed under the carport, the same roof, and an addition eventually in a second phase of 2 bays. So this in itself would be kind of the building modifications. The other thing that they're interested in doing is in improving this dead-end street that has a very, it doesn't go with the rest of the community. It has, for example, located a dumpster here. There's a driveway that exits right to the intersection, and we would like to remove that exit and put it further back, relocate the dumpster, and provide some more landscaping, a nicer area as a continuation of the sidewalk into this dead-end street. This property has suffered several, throughout the years, easement. There's a street that was eased in the back of the property to clear the neighbors right on the side. And also for the DOT when they grew to 4 lanes. That's kind of in a nutshell with what I have in the pictures. And again, reiterating, what we have is a car garage that would increase from existing 3 bays to 2 bays initially under the existing structure, and in the future, like a second phase, 2 bays in addition. And we are in considerations of the parking in the back that we would have to have. There's an embankment that we would like to keep in the slopes as it is, in the 1 to 2, with the driveway as existing, covered with trees as it is right now. We wouldn't touch that, but we would do some landscape in the rear too.
Okay. Rocco, anything you'd like to tell us now?
No, sir. No, sir. As Mr. Lackett was explaining, he's obviously an architect, so he can explain it much better than I can. But essentially, in order to grow in business, as well as make the place more feasible parking-wise, along with that entrance, which on quite a few occasions has been a near accident, coming out directly on the corner, whereas people cut in to go to the gas station neighboring us, it would be a good move for the county as well as us to be able to move that entrance back. Aside from that, no, covered all bases.
Give us a little more information. How long have you been there in business there, and how long has the building been there? Just general stuff.
We have 2 locations. We have one on Post Oak Tritt Road. This is our second location. This one has been there for approximately 2 years. We started business in, I'm going to say 2010, but December of 2009 is when we opened. And business grew. We grew, needed more space. We found this location. And inside of 2 years, thank God, its business has taken off to a good start, to the point that we need A, more parking, and B, more space, more shop space.
Okay.
So the existing business, Rocco's European Garage on Roswell Road, is 2 years.
How long's the existing building been there?
Approximately,
I would say
40
years.
Approximately 40 years.
Okay.
It was an old Texaco, then it was a dry cleaners, and now it's back to a shop.
All right, gentlemen, anything else you want to tell us?
No, sir.
Okay. For the purpose of the record, is anybody here wishing to speak in opposition to case V113? Hearing and not seeing anybody, it's back to this board for discussion. Again, Mr. Poteet represents the district. David, if you would, lead us in the discussion.
If y'all could stay up there. We got a few questions. We talked about some things. I've been talking with Mr. Leonetti about a few things on the phone. First of all, the look of it would be much improved compared to what's been there for years, and we all know that area has needed improvement. The change, DOT's very happy with the change on the potential change on the curb there also. And looks-wise, as far as I'm concerned, I think it's done well, putting the window in the front, turning the 2 garage bays to the inside.
Yes, sir.
The main concerns, a few that we talked about and that we need to get straightened out, and we'll talk to some county people here too, is one is the sewage or the septic tank, and B would be the pervious surface. Or impervious surface, however you want to look at it. So what's going to be done to make sure, since we have stormwater issues down below this property, what would be done to make sure we don't go over that 70%?
What we would like to start the phase when we submit for permit is to include those calculations for the pervious and impervious and have an alternative, like you saw in the previous variance, some kind of treatment, either to use pavers, removable pavers, so if there is any lines that can be removed and easily repaired, and that would be for the area behind. What we're talking is behind here.
You have to stand to that side, and then
behind the building.
There you
which
go.
is the area in concern. We would have to put the new pavement in there because the rest would remain the same in the front. We would not touch it. So if there are any concerns regarding the rear, we would there, based on the calculations, do what I just said, pavers, or some kind of geotechnical treatment that it would be pervious to reach those calculations.
Okay.
This is the initial phase, and I imagine they could be binding those proposals for the permit eventually.
And looking at the front of the building where the new addition would be, if I'm not mistaken, there's 2 parking lots there existing now. Am I correct? And that you would remove those?
Yeah, they're like one in front of the other. Right where the new window is, exactly.
Like parallel?
Parallel, yes,
okay.
Exactly.
So those would go away.
Yes.
And then we'll call county staff up in a moment. The second thing would be, we talked about you just had the septic field. I want to make sure about the septic field and where it comes out and whether this could be paved without going over that septic field except for the line going out.
Yes.
The septic field is beyond, if you look at the picture where the cars are parked behind the building, beyond that is where the septic field is. There's a bit of a grade, a 2-to-1 right now, which has to be pushed back but will not get into the septic field. The only thing that would have to be paved over is the main line going to that septic field, which, as Mr. Lackington was saying, we would possibly do removable pavers in the line of that sewage line. In the event that anything has to be replaced, the entire pavement doesn't have to be dug up. We can remove said removables, the pavers.
And that would just be on the line, not the septic field itself.
Right, just
Correct.
on top
Where
of
it
the
still
line
breathes.
going to the septic field. Septic field will not be touched. It'll be green space on top.
Yeah.
Okay.
Landscaped area.
Okay, I'm kind of doing this in 2 portions, so
Yes, sir.
if y'all don't mind stepping down for just a moment.
Yes.
I'm sorry, unless anybody else has.
Ms. Williams.
It was my understanding, let me get my thoughts here together. It was my understanding that if sewer was available, that you had to connect onto sewer. And it was my understanding from the water and sewer department that sewer was available in that basin. And I guess the next person to come up would be Tim.
That's right, yeah, that's who the next logical
Tell you
would
the
be.
truth, I don't know.
No.
I don't.
Yeah,
know.
So
Tim's
if
gonna come
we
up.
get the director, we have to connect. Well, we would have to do it.
Because we're trying to get everybody connected to sewer if
Yeah.
sewer's available, so.
Yeah. This is an old property, probably it's not. That's what it is.
Yes, no, definitely. It's not connected.
So we
However, I
have to
don't know
connect.
where the line
We
runs.
would connect.
All right, thank you.
All right, any other questions before the gentleman sit down? Okay, guys, sit down and
Yes, sir.
David, your
Mr. Davidson, if you could come up, because you were the natural next step, so Judy, good segue. No, that works out. It's on our minds.
Yeah, Tim Davidson, Cobb County Water System.
We didn't hear back from the health department today, but could you explain how that works and what Ms. Williams brought up? And
I'll tread lightly in talking about septic tanks and rules and how they function because I'm a sewer guy. I'd rather have everything in a pipe go to a treatment plant. But the code is not real favorable on commercial properties being on septic tanks. septic fields, but they're out there. What we've historically done in that situation is when they come in for redevelopment, as long as the existing septic field can handle what's being proposed and no changes are needed, we allow it to stay on septic. The problem for the property owner comes when, if they were to pave over the drain lines, or if they needed to have some kind of expansion. If they were doing something on site where the health department says this field has to be moved or expanded, basically we the water system would have to tell them that sewer's not available in order to allow that change to the septic system. But the definition of available is pretty broad, meaning it's downhill somewhere close. And it is available. There's sewer in Barnes Mill, there's sewer in the cul-de-sac you can barely see off the page. There's a sewer farther up Roswell Road. I don't know what's uphill or downhill relative to their site, but it's in the basin. So what it boils down to is if the health department says that this existing system can handle this adding the bays and what they're doing, then they can stay on septic. We would have no problem with that.
Okay. Quick question. Go ahead.
Would that be handled in the plan review? You would make sure that the health department had no problem
Yes.
with it in the plan review process,
Yes,
right?
and I had left a voicemail with them posing
Okay.
that question. I hadn't heard back. I was hoping to hear before this meeting.
Just a nod would work for many. Did you say you have redone recently the septic fields?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's what I want to make.
The entire septic system has been redone.
Okay.
And was that inspected by the Cobb County Health Department at the time?
No, it was not.
Okay, that's probably due then. That's probably going to be.
We'd have to get them involved either way, I think. So,
Let me be perfectly clear. As David has pointed out, the health department is the only one that controls the septic system. The county really has absolutely nothing to do with it. Health department calls those shots. If they tell you one thing, that's exactly what you got to do. Okay, David, go ahead.
I think you've done an excellent job. Dave, if you could, Mr. Braden, if you could come up, please. And I'll save time. My question for you would be: Is there a plan we could put in place that would keep them at 70% or less?
Yes. The number of spaces that they're adding on their proposed plan looks like that if they did enough pervious pavers for the spaces alone, not the drive aisle, would get them below the 70%.
Okay.
70% or under. So they wouldn't need that variance number 4.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
And there's a reason for that we were concerned about that is because there's a lake downstream that's had previous issues, so we don't want to make it any worse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm just going to say Marco. It's easier. But if you could come up, or there's 2 Marcos and 1 Rocco, and
Good God, I thought you're all Irish. How lost am I?
I thought they were from Alabama, but I guess.
All right, David Poteet,
Okay,
come
here
on.
we go. My question, we talked about when I was out there, a row of there's not in the picture, but in the back of the building, I think that's to the north, if I'm not mistaken, the back of the building, there's a hill that goes up. At the top of that hill,
Yes,
you have some.
I got a plan, I got a drawing here.
And then there's some condos or whatever behind that. We talked about planting some Leland at the top of that, and then landscaping that hill. I just wanted to make sure y'all would still be on board with that.
That just requires you to say yes.
Yes.
He's got a rendering, I think.
Okay.
Well, I wanted to show you, it's this, let me, yes, okay. I think this is the area you're talking about. You can see some roofs around here. Let me see a little closer. No, it's opposite here, bro. This is the hill. This is the driveway into the neighbor's property, right here. Through the trees. I mark it with a dot. It starts here on the dead lane, the dead end street, and it follows in between the trees up to here. There's a gazebo here, the round construction that you see that the neighbor has. And what I hatch here is the sloped area, and there's kind of a flat about kind of on the top of it, that it's where the field and all that is there with the trees, which will remain there. Everything would BSO as it is. We will not touch that area.
And then at the top of that hill, we would add some, I'm just saying,
Yes,
we'd leave it up to county
We have to
arborist.
landscape the sloped area and between where the slope finishes and we start the flat. That area is going to be, has to be held together with vegetation.
Okay, thank you.
That's what we're looking for here in the back.
Thank you. That's all I got.
All right, any other comments, questions, board members? All right, Mr. Poteet, I think we're ready for a motion.
I'm going to try to put one together with everything in it. First of all, I think this is an improvement to the area, and I'm glad your business is going well. We need a good business right there. I think it's a safety issue that would be taken care of with coming into that filling station. Again, 2 in a row, I think we've had some really good planning done and quality planning. So with that, my motion would be that we approve V113, all parts except we deny part 4. They'd have to keep under the 70% or at 70% or less on the impervious surface. Along with that, the stipulations would also be that we, as talked about, first of all, that stormwater assures that we stay under that 70%, that they're involved with that number, and that the health department approves any sewage and or septic tank situations that come up. We'll have to get their approval before anything. The rural Leland cypress, or let's put it this way, we'll leave it up to the Cobb County arborist, what would be planted at the top of the hill and along that bank, on that bank. He'd come out and talk to y'all. It would be Dave Griffith, I believe. No paving over the existing septic field of any type. The health department will handle that also. And that is my motion.
Very good. I've got a motion. Do I have a second? Second, Ms. Swanson. Any other discussion from board members? Not hearing any. Call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, Madam Secretary, we're going to approve V113 based on all comments from Mr. Poteet with a 5-0 vote. Okay, John, where are we?
Before we move.
Wait a minute. Hold on, guys. I got a comment here. David?
Do we need to put a time restriction on this? Okay.
Now you guys can go. Very good.
Head on back to Alabama, South Georgia, wherever.
Thank you. All right, John, get me out of this before.
Not sure if I can, Mr. Chairman, but
I like racehorses too.
Variance case V114, Monica Maldonado requests a variance to waive the minimum lot size from 20,000 square feet to 16,018.5 square feet. Waive the front setback from required 50 feet to 2.3 feet. Waive the rear setback from required 30 feet to 16.8 feet. And waive the side setback from required 10 feet to 9 feet adjacent to the north property line in land lot 207 of the 17th district. The property is located on the east side of Austell Road across from Privet Road. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V114? Let the record show there's no one opposed.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Ana Patricia, and I'm going to be helping them, translate
Okay,
their
good.
issue.
Very good, Anna. Now, let's get each individual's name on the record.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Mónica Maldonado.
Monica.
Okay,
Eleazar Ortega.
okay. And again, the translator, your name is?
Ana Patricia Peña.
Anna, okay. All right, Anna, go ahead. Tell us what you want.
¿Qué es lo que quieren ustedes? ¿Qué es lo que están pidiendo?
Bueno, construimos nosotros una estructura ahí en un negocio que tenemos como taller.
They built like a roof on the business that they have.
Right.
Hace como como el 2005
Okay, like 2005, they built that.
y hace aproximadamente como unos 2 meses
Like 2 months ago.
la ciudad fue y nos puso ¿cómo se dice? Un complaint, yo creo.
Okay. About 2 months ago, the city came and did a complaint
Por la estructura que hicimos.
for what they built.
Okay.
Y pues ellos nos dijeron que teníamos que venir a corte.
Oh, and the city just told them that they have to come to a hearing
Okay.
here.
All right. I tell you, for the purpose of this meeting, there is nobody here in opposition. Let me call that out again. Is there anybody here in opposition to V114? Okay, there is nobody here in opposition. I represent the district. I'm familiar with the case. So I'll proceed along how I can move this along. We originally got this case on a noise complaint. That was the first complaint that the county got.
La queja para ellos por la cual le llamaron a ustedes porque hay mucho ruido.
Okay, pero nosotros trabajamos desde las 9 de la mañana hasta las 6 de la tarde.
Okay, they work from 9 to.
Okay. Now, the
5
next
o'clock.
thing that happened is the building inspector noticed this metal building that had been put up and had not been inspected. So that's part of the reason that you're in
Okay,
here
la
today.
razón por la cual están llamando aquí es porque la estructura que hicieron de metal, no, la ciudad se dio cuenta de eso.
All right. With that said, you have a number of violations on the property.
Que tiene algunas violaciones en la propiedad.
I have been to the property twice.
Ha ido él ya 2 veces a la
I
propiedad.
met with the young lady that's back there one time.
Ya se entrevistó con Mónica, con esta niña, su hija.
Code enforcement has been out there a number of times.
Dice que el otro departamento ha ido varias veces también ahí.
We recognize the fact that the building, the existing building that sits closest to Austell Road was built probably back in the 40s or 50s. It's been there for a long period of time.
Que la construcción ahí ya es bien vieja, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Dice. Okay, y que
But
ya han hecho alguna
once this
remodelación.
has come to our attention,
Lo que vino a su atención,
our code enforcement people have noticed a lot of violations that we're here to correct, and with the cooperation that the young lady
con la
and I had
cooperación de ella,
discussed,
ya han discutido
we want to get these done.
de muchas violaciones de la propiedad y que aquí están para arreglar eso.
If the building, the metal building in the back was built in '05, obviously there was no inspection at that time of that building. Is that correct?
Dice que la construcción ya es bien vieja y que cuando están eso no ha tenido ninguna inspección recientemente. Que si usted sabe de eso.
No.
He didn't know that,
Okay.
that nobody has.
Nosotros tenemos, estábamos pagando renta hace como en el 2001 y ahorita tenemos 3 años que estamos pagando la propiedad nosotros, pero
Before, like in 2001, they were renting the property, and now about 2 or 3 years ago, they start paying, but it's gonna be theirs.
All right, so they're in the process of buying the property
Right.
now. Is that
¿Están en el
correct?
proceso de comprarla?
estamos comprándola.
Well, you're the title holder as of right now. Or no, you're not the title holder.
¿Usted quién es el que está sostenido en el título de la
Los
propiedad?
dos, esposa y
Both of them
Am
being
I reading that
married.
right? I guess she is, yes, okay. So the lady is the title holder.
Yeah,
Okay.
also.
Dile que
Can
sí
she
puedo
speak? Can she speak?
Oh, certainly, yes.
Nosotros ahí estamos rentando ese negocio desde como el 2000. Estuvimos rentando, pero el dueño de ahí donde rentábamos
se falleció.
Okay, the renter, you know, the person that was renting them since 2000, just passed away.
Entonces él cuando falleció, a su esposa le dijo que nos vendiera a nosotros.
Before he died, you know, he told his wife that that if he passed away, they were able to buy the property.
Okay. Entonces nosotros estamos pagando, le estamos depositando a la señora cada mes de donde nos está vendiendo la casa, como a cuenta de renta.
Instead of paying rent, the rent is depositing for them to own the property.
But the title holder right now is Monica. Monica is a title holder. That's all I care about. That's all I want to be sure.
It's Monica Elias.
And both of them.
Okay. All right, both of them are on there. Okay. I'm asking for some latitude here. If everybody's with me, I'll continue on. But I know this is a little unusual, but I think we're getting to the main things. I'm ready to get these things correct. Here's part of one of the reasons you're here is you could not sell this property the way it is today because of not only the violations, but because of the setbacks, the square footage of the property, and things like that. So we're here in partly to help you out. Do you want to pass that along?
Él para ayudarlas ahorita, porque esa propiedad creo que no se puede vender por cómo están los pies de la propiedad y para lo que está hecho. O sea, porque el taller que usted tiene, ¿verdad? Okay.
Now, can you tell this board what type of automotive work you do on the property?
¿Qué tipo de trabajo hace?
Mecánica.
Mecánico.
Well, I know you do catalytic converters. Is that correct? Is that the main part of your business?
Que si esa es la mayor, los convertibles.
Es que trabajamos ahí la mecánica y los muebles, ese es el trabajo de nosotros.
Okay, that's both of their jobs, most of the time is like half and half.
Okay, so is it general auto repair with catalytic converters? I know that's the sign that you have there. Okay. All right. Is there anything else you want to tell us about this property before I get into here? Let me just go through the things that we're going to talk about. Trash and trash removal. We're going to talk about parking and striping the lot. We're also going to talk about no outside storage. We're also going to talk about a building inspector to inspect that new building and meet all the enforcements. On the 3 occasions that I was out there, I noticed there's a lot of cars with tags that are not on cars. We're going to talk about a time limit on those things. And because of the original complaint, which is a noise complaint, then we're going to talk about hours of operation. Now, before I go into all those things, is there anything else you people want to tell me with what I've just brought up?
Okay. Nosotros nunca habíamos tenido problemas nosotros ahí, hasta apenas será como unos 4 o 5 meses que alguien se está quejando, pero nunca hemos tenido problemas con ningún vecino.
They never had a complaint or problem with anybody around until now, like 3 or 4 months ago, that they start complaining about the noise.
Okay.
Nosotros no trabajamos en la noche, trabajamos nada más de las 9 de la mañana a las 6 de la tarde.
They don't work late, they only work till 6 o'clock. From 9 to 6 o'clock.
Well, understand, any complaint that comes into the county has to be inspected and enforced. So that regardless of who the complainant is, we've got to follow through on it. Anything else you'd like to tell us, board, about the things that I've mentioned?
Está bien, nosotros tenemos que mantener limpio ahí, tenemos que limpiar los carros también, no tenerlos por mucho tiempo. Nosotros, a veces los clientes van y nos dejan los carros ahí para una reparación y tardan hasta 3, 4 meses sin ir. Entonces, pero nosotros le decíamos que nosotros le llamamos a la ¿cómo se llama? A la reca para que se los lleve. Y luego tenemos problemas también con la policía a veces porque tiramos un carro.
He said that sometimes, it's not on him, the people go and leave the cars to do a certain job and they never come back, it passes 1 month, 2 months, and then they don't, until they have to call the towing truck and take it to a park, and then they have problems with the police if they do that.
Yeah, but explain that to me again. I know you have to call a towing truck, but why would you get involved with the police?
Because, sometimes you have to say why or why not you're taking that truck or that car to.
So they're abandoned cars and there's no tags on them, so nobody knows who owns it. Is that correct?
Sometimes that's what they do.
Yeah, that's a tough situation. I do know that code enforcement people have been out there a number of times and have discussed that with both your applicants.
Okay, que ha tenido ya varias veces que han ido a su taller y a arreglar la situación, pero por eso está usted aquí, para arreglarlo.
Yo estoy en lo que él diga.
He's willing to take, whatever decision you have.
Okay, any other questions you have for this board?
No.
Okay, if everybody just bear with me, I know this is a little unusual, but we're really here, there's 2 things here. One is you're in violation of a number of things, but we're really here to help you because you could not sell your property the way it sits right now. All these things have to be cleaned up. So, with that said, I'm going to make a motion that we approve V114 based on all staff recommendations and the following. Trash container has to be provided on the property with a lid, and it must be picked up weekly. Number 2 is a parking plan has to be submitted to the zoning office. They've asked for that. And a striping plan would have to be put into effect on the parking on that property, which means you're going to have to either asphalt part of that lot or concrete part of that lot with a striping plan to be approved by the zoning department. Am I okay, John, there? Okay, number 3 would be that the building inspector would go back out there and inspect the new metal building. The new metal building that was built in '05 has to meet all Cobb County ordinances on that building. I think you're going to be okay with that. And you would have to get a permit for that building. Okay. Then, number 4 highlight would be there'd be no outside storage on the property. On number 5, the vehicles that are on the property without tags can only stay 30 days. You need to keep a record, a permanent record, a record book that the county can come and look at the day the car comes in, the day the car is finished, the day the car leaves the property. The hours of operation will be from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., 6 days a week. Okay?
Except Sunday, let's say which day.
Except Sunday. There'd be no work on Sunday. Is that a problem?
No.
No.
They
Okay.
said that's the only day they're off.
Okay, good, good. Then the next one would be number 8, no selling of cars or trucks from the property. I think when that was brought to your attention 3 weeks ago, you immediately removed the vehicle and took the signs off, but you can't sell vehicles off that property. And then all these stipulations that I put into effect, I want to give you 30 days to get those completed. Is that acceptable? Can you do that in all 30 days? Okay. And that would be my motion. Second, Mr. Hovey. Now, any other comments, questions from board members? Any other comments?
I just have one.
Yes, ma'am.
This was brought forward with the noise complaint in the last.
Turn your mic on.
I'm sorry. This was brought forward on a noise complaint with the hours, and he stated that the hours of operation are 9 to 6. So you've now stated that they can have earlier.
Yeah, I think there was some question about that, but the original complaint came in. The original complaint was a noise complaint.
Right, but you've increased now their hours
Yes.
of work
Yes.
from 7 to 6 when
7 to 6.
they currently work 9 to 6.
I think there was a question about that.
You think they work
Yeah,
longer?
I think they were working longer than that. I just want to make sure we don't go beyond 6. I wanted to go 7 to 7, but I decided to change that, go from 7 to 6 o'clock.
I was just thinking, like, why can't you just go with their hours, standard hours of 9 to 6 is what he stated is what he currently is working now.
¿Verdad que usted trabaja de 9 a...
De 9 a 7. De 9 a 6.
9 to 6.
9 to 6, are you okay with that?
Yes.
Then I'll amend the motion to read from 9 to 6. Again, 6 days a week. Sundays off.
No, de 9 a 6.
Pero él lo había puesto de 7 de la mañana. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments? Not hearing any. Now, before I finish this off,
Cualquier cosa, que si no me paga el permiso de trabajar de 9 a 7 de la tarde.
No, están diciendo que en la más tarde no.
No later than 6, right?
no later than
Okay.
6.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for us before I make this final? Do they have any questions for us?
¿Tienen alguna pregunta?
All right, I've got a motion, I've got a second. Call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, any opposed? Carries for approval, 5-0. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. John, where am I, my friend? There is one other business item, and that's to amend. Is that the amendment, John?
It's to authorize a correction of the minutes.
All right, would you go ahead, you want to read that in the record, John?
Yeah, sure. Other business, to amend something previously adopted relative to the minutes of October 1st, 2014 variance hearing, specifically pertaining to variance V107 David Pearson, which was inadvertently omitted, and to authorize the correction of said minutes to include the following. V107 David Pearson requests a variance to waive the side setback from required 25 feet to 10 feet adjacent to the western property line, and rear setback from required 50 feet to 37.5 feet in land lot 1260 of the 16th District, located on the south side of Paper Mill Road, east of Woodlawn Drive. Mr. Kevin Moore, applicant's representative, requested that V107 be withdrawn without prejudice in order to clarify outstanding issues with neighbors. Thereafter, the following motion was made. Motion by Swanson, second by Williams, to allow V107 to withdraw without prejudice. Voted unanimously.
All right, thank you, John. Now, let's just reiterate that. Kim, would you make that motion to amend this?
Yes.
Okay,
I make a motion that we amend the minutes on V107.
good. Second. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, any opposed? Carries for approval, 5-0. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got two other things of business. That is the October the 27th meetings and the November the 10th.
Move approval of the minutes as presented.
Okay, second, Ms. Williams. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, any opposed? Anything else going on? Are we getting ready for Thanksgiving, Mr. Hovey, and everybody okay? That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're complete for today. Thank you very much.